And I was telling my friend, I was like, you took a 7-year-old up on this hike. These adults can't do this hike. And I don't know if I can curse on this podcast, but kids can do some epic shit. If you
Yeah.
allow them to do it, if you give them the space and you encourage them to do it, they can do some stuff, right? And so.
Welcome back to another episode of the Culture Path Experience. I am your host, Reggie Chapman, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. We are going into the hiking realm of things with Shanice today. The Instagram account is She Dares to Go, and if you go on there, you can see Shanice cares a lot about hiking, hanging out with her daughter, and being a single mom, and showing people everywhere that it's possible. Shanice, thank you so much for coming on the show, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this podcast, and I'm doing great.
Well, look, I'm curious. We got to start with this. Your journey. How did you end up getting into hiking, and where does that love kind of come from for you? And because you can tell when you hop on your Instagram account, it's clear you care about it. You love being able to tell other people how to do it, and you also love bringing your daughter along with you. How did you become such a
Mhm.
big fan of hiking and just seeing the world?
Yeah, so it was how I got into hiking started from a little bit of a struggle. So I had not gone hiking at all ever in life before. That was just something we never did in my family. My mom said, black people don't hike, so we don't do that. That was not a thing. But I was going through I was going through a difficult marriage, really. And it was to the point to where I didn't really have peace in my house. There would be people at work and they'd be like, I can't wait to go home and do all this and that. I could wait. I could work for like another 4 hours. Like I could definitely wait to go home. And I wasn't having any peace in my house at all. And it was just a very, very difficult time in my life. And a friend of mine was just like, why don't you go on a walk? And I'm like, a walk? Like, what you mean? Like, so I'm like, okay, I'll try it. Go on a walk. At this point, I'm just going through so much. This very, I mean, whatever words you could describe as difficult, it was like that times 10. So I was like, you know what? I'll start going on walks. And I'll never forget, I started going on walks around my neighborhood and going outside and just being able to like hear yourself think, and there's the nature, you've got the trees, you got the beauty, the scenic beauty outside, just walking around, just taking a load off. And then I would pray. I would go on the walks and I would start praying, and that's where my calm came from. My calm came from being outside and taking walks. And then I started taking my daughter with me because I have her the majority of the time because just how things worked out. And when we were out there and she saw me hiking, like walking around and stuff, and we're doing these neighborhood walks, they're getting longer and longer. And she's just like lighting up because we're out there together, like doing a walk. And I think, at that point, because I was really wondering, like, well, how am I going to handle this, going through this divorce? How am I going to handle being a single mom? How am I going to handle all of this stuff? And when I'm outside with her, it's almost like God telling me like, you got this, like you got this, right? And so that's where it started, just taking a walk. And then the walks became hikes, and we started doing, our local parks, state parks, waterfalls, all of this, to where now it's like almost like an addiction to get outside and explore and have fun and do hiking, because not only is it, bonding for me and her, but also it was like almost like a testament to my resilience. Like, you can be out here hiking by yourself with your daughter, you can do anything. And the peace and the calm that I still get when I'm outside. If I'm stressed out, I gotta go outside. I gotta go outside. So that's how it started.
I'm curious. It's funny because you began that story talking about how you were told, like, there's certain things that people that look like us don't do,
We don't do.
like
Yep.
hiking,
Hmm.
right? To be somebody that does look like us and to be going out and hiking and being amongst nature, what kind of pushed you past the idea of it being something that didn't belong to you, and how have you kind of adjusted and adapted to being somebody that can do it and showing other people that it's something that's available for Black people?
Yeah, so I was talking to my mom about this yesterday actually. I went on a solo hike here in Virginia, and there is a national park that's pretty big, Shenandoah National Park. And I went out on a solo hike yesterday, and I was out there for 4 hours, and I was the only one of me on the trail. The trail was packed, but it was only one of me. And I thought like, man, we are missing out on so much just because of the things that, our parents never passed to us and things that we never did, and we assume we don't do it just because people told us that we didn't do it. But if all of these other people out here having fun and enjoying themselves and enjoying nature, why can't, we do that, right? So, um and especially going back to seeing my daughter, how much she loves being outside and she loves hiking, that is what pushes me to still go out there when lots of times it's only us out there on the trail. It is seeing the benefits and seeing that I think a lot of times we're just not out there because we're told that we don't go out there. Like we've never kind of questioned that belief system. It's just been something passed down. And so the other part of it, in terms of, you know, continuing to go out there and continuing to push past that, now I'm setting a legacy for my daughter to where when she grows up, that's not a thing. That's not a black people don't hike. That's a why are you not outside today? Like why are you not hiking? So it's interesting, seeing how that generational belief system can have such a big impact, and that's one of the reasons why I share so much on my page to try and show people that yes, we do that, and here's the benefits that come from it, right? And like a real quick funny story, I was talking to my daughter about, she was like, when did you go on your first hike? And I was like, about I was in a well into my adulthood, right? I was like late 20s. And she was like, "What?" And she asked my mom. She's like, "Well, when did you go on your first hike?" And my mom's like, "I've never been on a hike." And my daughter, it can't register to her that her grandparents have never gone on a walk in the woods. Like it just doesn't compute. She's like, "I don't understand it," right? And so that's the type of power that we have when we do push past it and we do change the narrative of now we're setting up generations beyond us to know like this is our space too.
I love that you tell that story because that's like our whole reason for existence here at Culture Path, and especially with the show, the Culture Path Experience, where we want to showcase people like you that are trying to showcase to others that it is something that we should be enjoying. I'm curious. Tell me a little bit more about your daughter, and eventually telling her, "Yo, come with me on these hikes." What was it like? And what is it like taking her out to these hikes and bringing her and showing her different places? Like you said, just that mindset shift is so interesting because her reality is her reality now. So, what is it like being able to showcase all this with her and make this such a big part of her life?
Yeah, she is 7, and she went on her first hike when she was a year and a half, 2 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, a year and a half, 2 years old. She saw a waterfall, and I still have pictures of her like in front of the waterfall, and she thinks it's so cool that she's in front of the waterfall. For her, it's a couple things. It's like every day now. It's like a normal part of the childhood. She knows on the weekends we're going hiking and we're going outside. Um, Her mindset, things that she's gaining from it, from her being 7, is she's got some confidence about her, right? She knows she does not mind going places where she's the only, black girl on the trail. You should she's it doesn't even she doesn't even think of it as a thing that's special to stand out because she's just so used to, being around people that don't look like her because that's how it's been since the beginning when we were out there hiking. And then also when you hike with your kids, it creates like this adventurous spirit in them, right? I see the difference from when we're in a house and we're not outside and she's in front of the TV or she's coloring or she's doing something but she's consumed by YouTube or whatever. The their attitude is different. They act, different because it's like they're not getting that creative outlet that they need as kids. So when you take them outside and you take them in the woods, and if I say in the woods, take them on a hike, waterfalls, whatever, it's like they're another part of their brain is activated to where it introduces this sense of curiosity and adventure, and they're just she's asking all these questions about what's this leaf, and what do these mean, and how do waterfalls come about, and all of that, to where now it's like you could put my daughter in the house in front of a tablet, and she'll watch YouTube for a few minutes. She'll get bored. But if you put her outside, she's out there for a couple hours, and she'll have nothing but sticks and rocks. She's collecting sticks, she's collecting rocks, but her imagination is going like wild, because that's just what the nature does, with kids. And then I think the last part is that it increases our bond, right? When you're outside on a trail or on a road trip. We do road trips, we do all types of things. And it's just you and your kids, and there's no distractions. You'd be surprised at some of the questions that they ask, right? She asked some deep questions to be 7. But it's just because that level of they're not distracted by everything else. And you get that quality time, and you get that bonding time with your kids. And people think that kids don't remember certain things if they're that young. My daughter still remembers things from when she was 3. She can call out, "Oh, we went on this hike before. We did this before." They remember more than you think.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how she is now. She's grown into this 7-year-old, but she's spunky, she's confident, and she's adventurous. And it comes because when she's outside, she just gets to be.
And look, hiking is not necessarily easy either. I think people don't realize that it's some real work to be able to go on
Hmm.
those trails, not even just physically, but mentally. Um,
Hmm.
do you think that's a big lesson for her as well, as a way to, and maybe something for you as well, where it teaches you lessons on the trail? What are some of those lessons that you think it teaches both of you guys?
Yeah. I'm smiling when you asked that question, because this is something that we experienced earlier this year. There is a big trail here in Virginia. It's one of the hardest hikes um, in Virginia. I find this out, a couple days before I'm doing my research, but it was a hike where you could take kids, but it's hard. It's very hard. It's called Sharp Top Mountain. Very hard. And so we were on a road trip, and we were at this place, and it's called Peaks of Otter. And she looks at this mountain, she's like, "I wonder what's at the top of that mountain." I said, "Well, let's hike it. Let's go see." And she's like, "What? No, we're not. We're not." I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's go hike it." So no, let's go. So we literally went, and we got everything. And the next morning we hiked the mountain, and it took us 2 hours to get to the top. It was 1,300 feet of elevation. And to put it in perspective, most easy hikes are maybe 1 or 200 feet of elevation, right? This was 1,300 feet of elevation in 1.2 miles. So to go that high in that short of a distance, you're literally like, you know.
Gosh,
And throughout it all, she wanted to quit multiple times. We had people on the trail that I was like, "We're almost there, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're almost there." So like they're playing along with it too. So she done turn around and quit. And so we get all the way to the top, and she gets up there. She's like, "Wow." She's like, can we go get a cheeseburger?" And I'm like, "Sure." And then we hiked back down. But that moment, it was like, she loved the view, and she loved it, and she wanted to go get a cheeseburger. She got her reward. And I asked her, I was like, how would you rate that hike from a 9 to 10? She was like, I was like, "How would you rate that hike?" And she was like, "A 9 or a 10." And I was like, "You liked it?" She was like, "Yeah." But again, all the way up to the top, she wanted to quit. She wanted to turn around and all of that. But once she got there, she loved it. And I think that taught her and me this lesson on resilience and perseverance. Just because something is hard don't mean you don't do it, right? And when I talked about it, and I was telling my friend, I was like, you took a 7-year-old up on this hike. These adults can't do this hike. And I don't know if I can curse on this podcast, but kids can do some epic shit. If you
Yeah.
allow them to do it, if you give them the space and you encourage them to do it, they can do some stuff, right? And so we learned a lot from that trail. I learned a lot about me. I learned a lot about my resilience and being able to handle that as a parent too. Like your kid is melting down on the trail. You got other people, you can't be worried about what people have got to say and all of that. You can't be worried about their opinions. You got to focus on your kids and be there for them and give them what they need so that they can reach the top and set the goal and meet the goal that, we set for ourselves. So we hiked it and she was like, wow, it's really cool. And now we pointed down to where we were staying and she was like, we were all the way down there. Like, yes, we were. So it was great.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I think the coolest part is stuff like that is where you do a really really good job of like showcasing the journeys that you go on. Not only just showcasing the journeys, doing videos stuff like, but also doing like informational stuff and asking people to reach out. And for you, why is it so important that you run your Instagram that way? And where did you learn to be able to? Because it takes real effort. Social media, people don't realize social media is a lot of work, and I'm just so impressed with the amount of work that you do, the content, the amount of stuff, the giving back, and also the creating of a network of people
Mhm.
to create more hikers. So where does it all kind of come from you, and why is it such a big priority for you to make sure that other people see and learn?
In terms of, and can you ask the first part of the question again? You got cut off.
But yeah, why is it so important for you to be able to do all this work? Because I know it's a lot of work doing the social media
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
to tell other people and show other people what it is that you have going on. Because it feels like it's important to you to showcase
Mhm.
stuff that your daughter's doing, but also just the fact that you as a single mom can achieve anything.
Yeah, I think that it's important for me to do this and kind of alluded to the pre-covers. When I got started on social media, it was just out of a passion. It wasn't to, you know, just talk about my. It was about a need that I saw. Like I felt like one of the reasons I think why I struggled a lot with going through my marriage that ended in divorce is that I was so afraid to be in a single parent. I was afraid of it because I didn't see a good example of single parents. And when you look online, you type in single parent in a Google search or single mom is single mom struggle, single mom issue, single mom dating. It's all focused around, you know, single mom is hardships. It's not a positive narrative around being a single mom. The term itself can be used in a derogatory way, almost like, oh, you're a single mom, like you're a less than or something, right? And so for me, I worked through that myself to be like, no, I'm great. Like I love my like I love my life. And I love it because I learned that being a single parent, single mom, is not the defining piece of your story. And it's not the end of your story unless you let it be the end of your story, right? Being a single mom doesn't have to be a place of limitation or a place of lack. It can be a, we're gonna do some amazing stuff even as single moms, right? And so that was the first piece to really try to change the narrative and show that you can pour that energy into your kids. You can pour that energy into creating this amazing life around your kids so that, I know for me, when my daughter grows up and she's like at her senior night at high school, I don't want her story to be, oh, well, my mom was a single mom and it was such a struggle for us to make it. I want her story to be, my parents, yeah, they got divorced early, but my mom, we went everywhere. So, yeah, we were hiking, we were on road trips. We did all of this because she was a single mom and she is so resilient and she did not let that, stop me from having the childhood that I should have had as a kid, right? And so that is what birthed this whole passion of being so vocal about the outdoorsy piece because that's where the adventure and the peace comes from, and then the single mom piece of it's not there's a different story out there. We're not all out there that fit into that narrative that society has created.
It's inspirational, really, and you're doing a lot of really good work. I think as you look throughout your Instagram account, you've gone to a lot of really awesome places. And you either go,
Hmm.
you be in the snow, and there's waterfalls, and you're going through. I mean, you got some
We be
really
gone.
pretty stuff. You guys be all over the
Yeah.
place. Is there a favorite hike or moment that you remember? If I ask you this question, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is maybe a favorite moment, or
It's
favorite
so
hike that
it's
you've done?
It's so many. I think the first one that comes to mind is like my daughter. Again, she started hiking when she was 2. She's 7,
Yeah,
so she's very
that's
much
the thing.
child.
How in the world is she hiking at two something years old? That
Yeah.
feels aggressive.
No, I mean, again, kids could do some epic stuff if you just give them the space, put them
Yeah,
out there, and they're gone. And when I do group hikes, there's moms showing up with their 3-year-olds, and they say, "Oh, my kid would have never done this. I didn't think they would." I'm like, "Yeah, you put them out here, they will." And they're the kids out there enjoying it. Just and they don't want to go home. They want to stay outside. They want to stay on the hike. But back to your first question about the favorite memory. So yeah, so she's really into unicorns. Like she's a girl's girl. She asked me if unicorns were real, and I'm like, well, we're gonna go see. And so we went on this hike. That's how our thing started.
I
She's
get
like,
it.
Mom, is this? And I'm like, let's go. And so we went down to this place in Southwest Virginia. It's called Grayson Highlands, and there's these wild ponies that they roam free, and you hike. They're like out on. It's beautiful out there. We went down there. We started looking for these wild ponies, aka baby unicorns, because she says ponies are baby unicorns. That's her thing. And so we went out there and we found them, and she was just like, "Whoa!" And it was a gray one, and she was like, "Whoa, look!" I told them, like, "See, told you, unicorns are real." She go back to school. She tells her folks that she saw a unicorn. And, her schoolmate, she saw a unicorn this weekend, and they're like, "Where?" And she's like, "I did. Me and my mom went." So that was
That's
cool. That was a
awesome.
cool memory seeing that, and just you're outside and you're these ponies. They just 20 feet away, minding their business, and it's just absolutely beautiful to see. And then I think the other one is West Virginia. West Virginia is a very beautiful place that not a lot of people know about how beautiful it is. But we saw this frozen waterfall because my daughter is into Frozen, so we're like, well, let's go
Aren't we
see a
all?
yeah, yes. We are. And so I was like, let's go find this frozen waterfall. And so we went, and in West Virginia, is because it gets so cold, it was like 5-10 degrees outside. And we had to put crampons on our feet so that we can walk through the ice to get to the waterfall. There's like
Mm.
these little spikes. So we put it on to walk down the thing and see this waterfall completely frozen on the outside, and but then you kind of see some pieces of like the water flowing through, and I'm like, man, this is beautiful. And my daughter's like, Mom, it looks like maple syrup. And I'm like, that's the high. So now she wants to go back to the maple syrup trail. This frozen waterfall. It looks like maple syrup. And so that was really cool seeing this giant like 80-foot waterfall completely frozen with this kind of because the water is naturally black. And so
Mm.
that's why she said it looks like syrup underneath. So that was my other memory. It's just the way that kids like equate things. I'm like, wow, this is the most amazing frozen waterfall ever. And she's like, yeah, it looks like maple syrup. I'm like,
Sure,
okay.
you're right.
Sure, maple syrup. You're right. You're right.
How about this? Is there been a moment or a memory where you're like, this has gotten a little sketch? Obviously, hiking's it has its sense of danger to it. Has there been any moments
Mhm.
where you're like, yeah, this is a little sketchy, maybe little afraid, a little scared?
Yeah. Oh yes, there are. I just keep it inside so I don't freak out my daughter. But yeah, a lot of times I know here in Virginia, and I think it might be true for other cities, that the hikes because the trails, because of we like mountains and waterfalls, they're not, of course they're not urban areas, right? And so certain places look sketch. The drive to get there, that's the part that nobody talks about. People talk about the trails, but nobody talks about the drive to actually get to the trails, that they're usually, there's one particular one there, it's on this back road, this one lane type of thing. We didn't know it until we get down there. It's one lane type of thing, certain signs everywhere, and yards and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if we need to be down here, right? And it was very sketchy, and dirt road, like gravel roads. And it's like, do I keep going into this? Like, if I don't have, if my cell service dies, what happens? There's nobody here, right? And so yeah, it's very sketchy. And I will say I didn't turn around. I didn't turn around because I thought that, once we get to the trailhead, if it continues to look sketchy, then I'll turn around. But when we got to the trailhead, there were other people out there. But man, that drive was scary because I'm like, you see movies. I'm like, if my car breaks down, if I don't have cell service, something can happen like right now, and nobody's gonna know what happened to me or me and my daughter. And because people, aren't always the nicest, and some people, when you're in those very, very rural towns on those very back roads, like they know every car that goes through the place, and if your car doesn't look like the car that they're used to seeing, and you're the only black person riding down this sketchy road, like, yeah, so there have been some of those. There have been some of
Naturally.
those for sure.
Well, look, we won't leave people on a scary note. I do want to ask you before we go, do you have any advice for people that are looking to try and get into hiking, and why they should get into hiking as an important thing to do with it?
Yeah, I think the advice that I would say is from almost like an more of an aspirational piece, not like a practical piece, but starting with the aspirational piece. Start, do it. You won't know until you try the trail. Like you can, it's so easy to talk yourself out of something that you haven't done, and something that is not considered normal. But just do it. Put just get in your car, and, well, what I tell my friends is like, put your hiking boots on. Like, if you, number one, just get you some hiking boots, put your hiking boots by the door, put the boots on, go to the car, and just keep it one step at a time, and get out there and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, you're like, you know what, I won't like that. I didn't like that one, I'll do something else. But at least just start and try it. And then the second piece, on more of the practical side, especially for hiking solo with your kids, like me, it's just a lot of times it's us. And number one is, kids is gonna be kids no matter where you are. So don't let Instagram fool you when you see these folks with their kids that, like, oh, they're just, these baby angels, like they're just so pleasant on the trail. No, they're not. Kids are gonna be kids, and it's just, parenting doesn't stop. So just lower your expectations, and don't think that they're just automatically gonna love it out here. My daughter still has days she's like, I don't want to be here, but as soon as she gets out there, she changes her mind. And then also, from a practical standpoint, is when you are thinking about hiking either by yourself or in a group, or with kids, always think about safety. So practice a safety word, when you feel like it's a little sketch, or you want to turn around or something happens, practice a safety word. Get you certain supplies that you want to take, of course, get you a hiking checklist of must-haves. Things like, an extra charger a backup charger for your phone, snacks, extra water, things like that. Just to because if you get the safety piece down to where you feel like you have a peace of mind on the safety front, it makes everything else a lot easier. What I see from that sense. So those would be the two practical tips that I have. And then the last one would be, definitely start start local, start somewhere where it's a familiar trail, and then kind of branch out from there. Don't, just go all out on your very first one. Just start local and then kind of build up. Like we started walks and then we just built up from there.
All makes sense. It all makes sense. Okay. All right. Well, look, before we let you go, where can people find you? I'll give you a second to shout yourself out and everything like that. And what can people expect from you coming soon for you
Yeah,
and your
so
daughter?
you can find us. She dares to go is my Instagram. She dares to go, all one word. What we are doing now is really getting into doing more type like guides. We're working on guides and we're working on it's coming soon, hiking kits. I get a lot of question of from parents of like, what do I need to send my kid with on the trail? So we're putting things together to make it easy, so you know exactly what to take. You don't have to Google search and figure it out. It's going to be tried and true stuff, things that we already use, that just to kind of ease the load a little bit.
Awesome. That's awesome. And it's awesome work that you're doing, and your Instagram account is awesome. Make sure you guys go follow. I don't know how you got such a great Instagram handle either. She dares to go. I don't know how nobody had taken that before.
No, I took
So
it.
good on you for going to get that before somebody took it. Shanice, thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming on the show. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you thought I might ask you about that you'd like to leave us with?
No, no. Oh, well, one thing I will say is one thing that we do is that we do community hikes. So, and I post those on Instagram. So those are folks more in the Northern Virginia area. We do a lot of kind of solo mom type hikes and other types of outdoorsy meetups to really, get parents exposed to, having it hiking with their kids, but all things outdoors. So we've done whitewater rafting, kayaking, all things outdoors. So you can find that as well on She Dares to Go.
Let me tell you something. Next time I'm in Virginia, I'll find a kid if I have to, but I want to come. So thank you so much for coming on, Shanice. I really appreciate it, and good luck at everything. And make sure you guys follow along. And thank you guys so much for watching another episode of the Culture Path Experience.